Hello and welcome to Community Forum. I'm Heather Hansen O'Neill, and for those of you who have seen the show before, you know that I focus on inspiration, connection, and contribution. Now currently I am working on an event that is called the Phoenix event that includes all of those. It's a great networking for business people. It's going to be giving change management strategies, and best of all, it's going to benefit the United Way of Western Connecticut's Back to School program. And during the process of preparing for this event, I met some incredible people from the United Way of Western Connecticut. So I decided, let's bring them on the show. They can share their strategies, their insights about volunteerism and how it can impact us both personally and professionally. So I have two wonderful ladies with us today. They have incredible bios, but I'm only going to share a little bit about what you do. Kim Morgan is the CEO of the United Way of Western Connecticut, and with more than 25 years experience working in the nonprofit field, she's worked to improve the quality of life for those impacted by mental health and substance abuse issues, homelessness, and poverty. And Kim is consulted with nonprofits on outcome measurements, strategic planning, and grant writing. And there's a whole host of other things here that are incredibly impressive, but we're going to get to those as we go along. But let me also share a little bit about Karen Milo as Director of Financial Stability for the United Way of Western Connecticut. She's a member of the Community Impact Team, I love that phrase, and has been with the United Way for over 5 years. As Director of Financial Stability, she's responsible for grants, programs, and collaborative efforts that help the local residents achieve and maintain financial stability in their households. It's a very important program. And you work with volunteers in all sectors of the community. So we're going to learn a little bit more of both of those things, as well as about the United Way in general. How about we begin with that? How about you tell me a little bit more about some of the core beliefs of what the United Way does?
Sure. You know, every day we find people who say, what does United Way do? NFL? You know, we're not really sure.
Yes.
United Way is really about bringing resources, people and money together to solve problems that we cannot solve alone. And that's really it in a nutshell. We believe that there's building blocks that everyone needs to have. You need a good education, you need a stable living wage, and you need to have healthy families. And really, if you have those three things together, or we can help you achieve those three things, then you'll have a successful life, and that's really what we're about.
And I think a lot of those things, particularly I'm guessing the financial stability area, it's not really taught enough. And I think that what you're doing in the education aspect of it is really important. I mean, everything that you do is really important, but helping people to be able to help themselves too, I think is some of the new programs, right? Do you want to share a little bit about that, Karen?
Oh, sure. We have at United Way of Western Connecticut our new Financial Resource Center. Many of our area banks, including Savings Bank of Danbury, Union Savings Bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and several others, are committed to financial literacy in our communities and educating low to middle income families. And what the banks have done is encourage their employees as volunteers to become financial coaches and to meet with these families one-on-one and to help them to develop a budget, implement a household budget, decrease expenses, and increase income and savings. And
That's
to date,
fabulous.
we have 15 volunteer financial coaches coaching 22 households.
Wow.
So we're making quite a difference with our volunteers.
Oh, that's wonderful. I think that's fantastic. Now, I know on your bios, which I didn't really get into, you both have so much experience in doing personal volunteering as well. Could you share a little bit about, how about you start, Kim, about some of that?
I think that volunteering, I was reflecting on today and what does it really mean to me, and I think it really means community. The times that I've been the most enjoyed the most volunteer work or worked with volunteers who were really committed was when they had that community, when you made friendships and you were actually working towards a common cause.
Yes.
I volunteered for years at the soup kitchen in the morning, doing breakfast on the weekends. And I will tell you, on a Saturday morning at 5:30, your alarm goes off, it's 15 degrees out, you do not want to get out in your car.
Yeah.
And then you arrive and you see people working together and you realize you're helping someone who didn't have a warm bed to get out of, and it just changes your whole perspective. And so for me, volunteering is really, really a personal way to not only give back, but also to really receive, I think.
I love that you brought that up, because the way I start my show all the time, it's about inspiration, connection, and contribution. And I believe very strongly in giving back. And that is, not only does it help the community, but like you said, you get so much more. That focus on gratitude of what you have and in giving back really puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
And when you can bring people together who have all different abilities and disabilities and walks of life, working towards something common, there's just something magical, I think, that happens.
It really does, that common purpose. That's fantastic. And Karen, tell us a little bit about some of your volunteer work that you've done.
Sure. Well, I've enjoyed, when my children were younger, being involved as a volunteer reader in our elementary schools, as well as a Girl Scout leader in Bethel for 6 years, and that was wonderful.
Yeah.
And I've also volunteered with organizations such as the Women's Center of Greater Danbury and Connecticut Sexual Assault Crisis Services.
Wow.
And one thing that I just love to do is I crochet. I was taught to crochet at an early age, and because I love it so much, I've made it into a volunteer effort, and I've joined a group called the Binky Patrol.
Oh my gosh, that's
we
cute.
crochet blankets, make handmade blankets, and we deliver these blankets to children who are ill or traumatized. So the blankets go to area hospitals and shelters and crisis centers.
Oh, I love that.
So it's wonderful. And for me, it's about making an impact in the community and using skills that I have to give back. And I just love when the volunteers come to United Way and they're really able to identify those skills that they have and talents, and they're able to really share that with members of our community and make their lives better. It's a win-win for everyone.
It really is. That's a beautiful thing when you can marry the two of something that you're really good at or you really enjoy, and being able to give back and help someone at the same time with that. And if we could all do that like you do on a regular basis in our jobs and on a daily basis, everybody would be walking down the street a lot happier, I think.
People, when they get up in the morning, they want to contribute in some way.
Yes, I think
whether
they
it's
do.
through your job or taking care of your family. And I think volunteerism is just an extension of that.
Right.
You can be part of something that's bigger than yourselves.
Yes.
And whether that's one time a year or whether it's a daily opportunity that you have, I think there's something for everyone.
And I like that, because sometimes people think, well, I'm so busy all the time and I just couldn't possibly volunteer. But pointing out that it could be one day a year, it could be doing something that is behind the scenes, sending thank you, or whatever, something small. There's a lot that you guys know all that's involved in it. There's something for everyone for whatever
People can
amount
get
of
very
time.
directly involved and work with people who are really in need, or they can sit behind the scenes and we have financial reviewers that review the financials of all of the agencies that we fund. So it really depends. You can use your skills, you could not use your skills. We've met with people who say, you know what, let's say an accountant. I do that all day long. I'd rather paint a house.
Right.
Great, we'll find something for you to do.
We'll find a house for you to paint.
And then other people really want to use what they've been trained to do. So.
That's a great point. Now, one of the things that came up when we were chatting a little bit about this event that's coming up is that that volunteering, that giving back to the community is really becoming, we both know, much more prevalent in the business community today.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that and what's going on with that?
Yeah, so the companies have really shifted, many of them, to what they call CSR goals, corporate social responsibility. And they're really trying to align how they have their employees involved in the community with what their goals are. So we're finding more and more that they want to do group activities, things that will build their team. So it's an experience that includes anywhere from 10 to 100 employees out together.
Yeah.
We're finding that one-day projects are working really well for them. A lot of them are using interns that come in or their first year of employment, where they have to do 2 or 3 days worth of volunteering in a year. They've really incorporated that volunteer piece. And especially with the recession and there wasn't as many dollars, I think people found a way to keep their employees engaged and committed.
And I like that part, because part of what I do and how we came together is that helping people to understand the best way to build a team is to do something like what you're talking about together, to give back together. And you're finding it as well, right? Karen, what are some of the companies that are local companies? Are they getting a lot of people getting involved in it?
Oh, absolutely. One example that I can share today is that we have about 20 corporate partners that have taken part in community food drives for the Danbury Food Collaborative. And the Danbury Food Collaborative is a group that's led by United Way, and it consists of our food pantries and soup kitchens in Danbury. So with the engagement of 20 corporate partners over the past year, encouraging their employees to partake in this community food drive, we have brought in over 11,000 pounds of food, providing over 9,500 meals to residents in need right here in Danbury. So it really shows the impact that can have when the companies are behind that volunteerism effort.
And that's a nice example too of the companies working together as opposed to just sending out their own team.
Exactly.
I mean, putting it all together and collaborating is really, you get a better sum, right?
Yes.
At the end of it.
Right.
Exactly.
I like that. And are they able to then see with some of these programs that you do the impact as well? Can you show them, like, do you take pictures, or like how do they find out about the contributions, where it's going?
Oh, absolutely. We take pictures of the food collections, and we actually engage different corporate partners in the actual food sort of the food. So they have a chance to come in and see all the large piles of food, and then the food then gets sorted and distributed to the agencies. And what's nice about that is a lot of the volunteers from the corporations then get to have a chance to talk to our social service agencies and meet with them and deliver the food, and it's just a nice community bonding experience for
That's
all.
wonderful. And Kim, you mentioned about the engagement. Have you gotten feedback about how that has helped within the company?
Oh yeah, I mean, we hear one of our big days is Day of Action. So once a year we have a day, and about 800 employees go out into the community. And we hear over and over again, I did Day of Action, and I did it in this year, and it meant so much. Companies have had to start rotating their employees because so many people want to get engaged. And
Oh, that's wonderful.
yeah, it really, for people
They need
that,
to do several days of
yeah.
action then.
It means a lot to the employees, also for the company to support that, to pay them to go out for the day and get out of their offices and do something is just very rewarding, I think, for the employees.
Yeah, and they see that the company is also really focused on
Yes.
giving back too and doing the right thing. I really love that. Now, we were talking a little bit about the trends, and how about we talk a little bit about the difference in the millennial generation, because anyone who's hiring millennials now can see instantaneously that what they're looking for is a company who's, what they want to give back. It's a huge part of who they are as a generation. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, so the millennials we're hearing from companies are very much, they want to know that their passion and their expertise is going to be used, and it's going to be used as quickly as possible. And so the volunteerism is a way to tap into some of that. You can use volunteerism as a way for leadership responsibilities and for helping to grow in a company. We have programs like Board Serve, where we train employees in the community to be board members. We're going to have a whole shift of a generation who's sitting on boards today who aren't going to be there in 10 years. And that's going to leave a huge gap in the nonprofit community. So we have to get that next generation trained up and ready to go.